Rasha, would you like to mention the poll?
Yes. Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our event, Rainwater Harvesting, sponsored by the City of Guelph and Barry Collin. Just to let you know, this event is recorded, and we will start in a few minutes to allow attendees to get in. While you are waiting, we request that you take part in this poll that will be released momentarily. And this will help us understand our audience better and tailor our discussion towards your feedback. And of course, we will be sharing the results with you at a later stage tonight. I will wait a few minutes just to get the answers, and then we can start. Okay.
Hello, I have a message in the chat. I need to speak to an organizer, please.
Okay. We will be contacting you soon. What's your good name, or how can you have a message in the chat? Okay. Stop video. Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to our event, Rainwater Harvesting, sponsored by the City of Guelph and Barry Collin. Just to let you know, this event is recorded. Welcome, everyone. I'm Rasha Abusita, the Sustainability Program Coordinator at Emerge Guelph, and I would like to begin with the Aboriginal Land Acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge, as we gather here, we are reminded that Guelph is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples today. As a community, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work, and a responsibility to foster reconciliation and respect for Indigenous people who have been stewards and caretakers for this land for generations. Today, we acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation of the Anishinaabe peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting today. And we encourage folks to continue educating themselves on all current issues facing First Nation communities and peoples across Ontario and Canada, and to learn how to take action to uplift and support Indigenous people from coast to coast. So next, I will hand the mic to Evan Ferrari, our Executive Director at Emerge Guelph, to give his quick intro about Emerge and climate change. Over to you, Evan.
Thanks, Rasha, and welcome everyone this evening. We're really glad that you could join us. My name is Evan Ferrari. I'm the Executive Director of Emerge Guelph, and I'm in the process of launching our slideshow tonight. We have a great lineup for you, but before we get to the lineup, I just want to give you a bit of an overview of what and who Emerge Guelph is, for those of you that may not be familiar with us. The agenda that we just went through with Rasha, just a very quick welcome, but also a very important land acknowledgement. We're just be giving you a couple of minutes, not the 5 and 7 minutes that you see there. We'll also be looking at an intro to rainwater harvesting, and this will be everything from rain barrels through to year-round systems. And then we'll be getting into a roundtable discussion. Then we'll be hearing from the City of Guelph about the rebates that are available for different systems out there. And eventually we'll be getting into a roundtable discussion about the different types of systems that are out there, and we'll have 4 different suppliers that will be able to that will be able to help answer your questions, and we'll have quite an interesting discussion, and we'll have an opportunity for questions then. So briefly, Emerge Guelph fights climate change, and a very substantive part of that and of our work is energy related, but we also do a lot of work in water conservation because it too has an impact on climate change. To give you a sense not only about extracting water and having to treat it on the other end, but the other aspect of water, the impact of water on the energy system, is that 20% of the City of Guelph's energy costs on a yearly basis are for pumping water and treating water so that we can all consume it. So clearly that has a significant impact on climate change as well. One of the important things about summer water use that I know that some of the others will get into much more deeply is that we have to design a system in Guelph that can handle the maximum demand at a given time. Unfortunately, what happens at times in the summer is that peak demand is well above the average consumption that we see. So through doing things like rainwater harvesting for that peak period of time, it provides us with a great opportunity to be able to shave that peak, to cut it off at the very top. On that note, I just want to briefly share the results of the poll. You can see that sharing of the results, I'm assuming. Can I get a thumbs up from somebody there? Yes? Yep, okay. So the majority of people, or at least those that responded, are obviously from the Guelph area. 38% are interested specifically in rain barrels, but also 41% in larger cistern systems rather, for seasonal outdoor use. So the first two are seasonal outdoor use. The third one is a larger collection systems for seasonal outdoor use, and year-round use. Sorry, 50%. This one is quite large. I think some of our suppliers tonight will be probably excited to see that kind of number on the larger systems. And also a really healthy interest in the rebate system that the city is going to be offering, and that one of our speakers will be speaking about very shortly. Are you currently harvesting rainwater? I find this one, this kind of blows me away, and it kind of, I know that we at home have been harvesting rainwater for the better part of 30 years, but it always seems to be a progression. You start with one rain barrel and you just sort of get addicted, and it keeps on going from there. The overwhelming majority, again, not a surprise, 88% of that group of people that are indeed harvesting rainwater or using rain barrels, with 13% in larger cistern type systems for seasonal outdoor use, and 9% of them are out there specifically for using year-round systems, which is kind of exciting. That's a very interesting approach that you're going to learn more about. And we've got a couple of blank slides here that we're just going to slip through. I said I was going to be brief. Hopefully that was brief enough for all of you, because we've got some really great speakers tonight. And what I want to start with is an intro to rainwater harvesting. And we have Ben Morris. He's a board member with the Canadian Association of Rainwater Management, or an organization, the acronym is CANARM. And he's going to give us an overview of the types of systems that are out there. Ben, do you want to take over the screen?
Sure, thank you. I have to apologize for my lighting today. Does everyone hear me? Am I getting there? Okay, good. I don't know what it is. My camera's it's being funny. I'm happy to be here. So CANARM, Canadian Association of Rainwater Management, we provide training on rain harvesting. For the last 10 years, CSA has provided a new standard on rain harvesting called the CSA B805. A lot of our training and a lot of our education is based around that new standard. So my background is water resources engineering as a technologist, and I have experience in the field. So the main learning outcomes that I'm going to talk about right now are why collect rainwater, what is rainwater, how clean is rainwater, some of the basic components, and then I do have QA here, but this is a mistake. That's at the very end of everyone's presentation. The Canadian Association for Rainwater Management is a non-profit corporation. It was formed in 2012, and our mandate is just to bring awareness, education, and conduct research in the best practices of rainwater and stormwater management. So the first thing really to set the ground running right is what is rainwater, what's stormwater, what's gray water, what's potable, what is all this water? So rainwater is fresh precipitation straight from the sky. It does not touch the ground. Once it has touched the ground, it is stormwater or becomes a different type of water. So rainwater has not touched the ground, it's right off the sky. The next thing is stormwater. Stormwater is rainwater, but it's touched the ground. So typically it's unmanaged at the source, and it will have to be managed further down the flow path by stormwater management systems. And that's what's really causing infrastructure problems and environmental issues. Gray water. So gray water is actually once used household water discharged from washing machines, showers, tubs, and bathroom sinks that do not have fecal contamination. So essentially we take this water from these sinks and then we can reuse it for toilets or irrigation, very limited use and a very limited shelf life. Potable water is obviously drinking water safe for human consumption. Groundwater would be water that is underground. So it's in your well, aquifers, it's underground water. And then you have surface water, which would be lakes, rivers, and streams. The one that's not on here would be non-potable water. And that would be the water that you could reuse in your house that we could classify as rainwater. Why collect rainwater? So first off, rainwater is clean and very, very cost-effective to treat, as opposed to other source waters. Rainwater and stormwater are normally a wasted resource that is managed by the municipality or the environment gets hit with it. We have shortages of good water sources. So we're getting to a place where homeowners are building a new home, they're going to drill a well, and they're coming up dry. Huge investments, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, no water. So rainwater provides an alternative to actually potable water. Assessing an alternative water source versus your groundwater or surface water or municipal supply. Now, you can save money on your water bills. So if you're in the city, this can reduce your water consumption bill. And if you're hauling water or on a drilled well, it can save you from drilling a well, and B, reduce hauling water costs. So it obviously has a positive environmental impact. Stormwater that makes it to the environment typically has debris in it, it has toxins in it, and then those adversely affect the environment. It's becoming a very serious concern. So environmental government regulations will mandate having to do it or how best to go about harvesting rainwater. So what can this rainwater be used for once it is collected or harvested into a container or into a tank? It can be used most primarily for non-potable purposes. So for outdoor irrigation, for flushing, toilets, laundry, etc. Stormwater management, fire suppression, potable uses, so you can actually sanitize it and use it around the house for full potable domestic use, as an alternative to a well. And there is industrial uses as well. So the basic components of a rain system. You need a catchment surface. Again, because we're talking rain, it is a roof. If it's not off a roof, if it's off a ground or a parking lot, it would be considered stormwater. We need a conveyance system. So a big advantage to rainwater is we can utilize the existing infrastructure in most buildings, which is your gutters and your downpipe. So that would be your conveyance system. Now, all rainwater systems should have a pre-filtration device. Pre-filtration is going to remove the contaminants in the rain that both feed the bacteria and contain the bacteria. So by limiting that debris, we can really breathe some life into our rain tank. The rainwater storage tank definitely is a heart and soul of this type of system. And then in the rainwater tank, this one's showing a calming inlet and a skimming overflow to the drain. Now, depending on the type of barrel and the size of system, if it's a small barrel or if it's getting into these larger scale seasonal systems, some of these components may not be needed. But again, this is a very basic overview of what a rain system would entail. And then you'd also have your pumping and treatment after. So how clean is rainwater to begin with? So rainwater is non-potable off the roof. Therefore, it will require treatment to make it potable, to make it drinkable. By using pre-storage filters and post-storage filters, the water can be achieved. So you can get this water to all sorts of levels for all sorts of price points. And it all comes down to your pre-filtration and it comes down to your post-filtration are really the two big concerns with getting your water to that quality. The more time and energy that's put into pre-filtration, the less load we're putting on our treatment system. So what I look at that as a proactive, preventative approach to water treatment. Typical water treatment sources, you're going into a lake or a well, and you're proactively removing contamination that has got into the lake or the river or the well. With rainwater, we have an advantage here. We can proactively eliminate that contamination with pre-filtration, first flush diversion, before it gets into the tank. Then we're putting a lot less load on our treatment system. And then treatment can be minimal cost. You can have potable water. So the main contaminations would be leaves, needles, bark, moss, and then obviously the ones that maybe people don't really think about would be other chemicals and pollutions and leaching materials that may come off your roofing and piping. So when you're getting into using rainwater for more potable purposes or in the house, you want to really look at everything that's touching the rain from the roof to the tap and dive into if that product is suitable. Now, rainwater harvesting off a rooftop. So rooftop are the clean surface. They have way less pollution than a ground level. So just naturally, because of the raised elevation, you're not getting the dust and debris that you would get on the ground. Not to say there's none, but it's less. So gutters and east troughs are what's going to provide the appropriate design for your conveyance system. And because these catchment systems, these roofs, these gutters, these downpipes are again already readily available, it takes a huge aspect of your rainwater harvesting system is already part of the property or already part of your new build. So on the far left, we see an asphalt roof. It's your most common. Now, it wouldn't be advised to drink off of this roof, but it is used for everything else. Over here, we got clay tile with, I believe it's the Tesla shingle, but I'm not sure. And this would be a suitable surface to drink off of. And then you have a metal roof. Now, metal, depending on the type of metal and the type of paint, metal roofing can be a suitable surface, but again, you should dive into the type of roofing if you are going to drink off of it. So why pre-filter the rainwater? So pre-filtering, kind of dived into this, but it's going to remove the solid particles that contain nutrients and bacteria. Depending on the pre-filter, you can aerate and oxygenate the water. It can dissolve metals in the rainwater like iron, because the oxidization will occur and because you can get aerobic and anaerobic breakdown in a tank. You can actually start to take things out of the rainwater naturally through the health of the rainwater system. So there's pre-filters, there's first flush diverters, and there's dual action systems. How am I doing for time here? I think I'm doing okay. Yeah, okay. So storage tank. So it's the heart of the rainwater system, really, is that storage tank. These are some of the components that may be in it: calming inlet, skimming overflow, floating uptake for a pump. Now, again, when it gets into all the pros and cons of products, everything has pros and cons. So really every product line has its benefits and has its weaknesses. There really is not one that's necessarily superior to the other. Above ground tanks, they are the most effective option by far for rainwater harvesting, but they may require protection from frost. So you're going to put that inside a building, or you're going to drain it in the winter in order to use that all year, or in order to winterize. Now, below ground tanks can be frost protected without putting them inside a heated building. You just bury them deep enough, so it's taking up less space, but you are going to require excavation and proper installation. They become a more costly installation method than above ground. So here's a very simple rain barrel. You got a diverter on a downspout, and it's running into a tank. Now, by resloping the gutters on this type of house, you're able to get all the water to one side. And this simple barrel can, collect water from half a house, if not more. It's a very simple and clean way to do rain harvesting. Here are a little more sophisticated barrels. They're a little more for underground or for above ground. They would be more of your all year, non-potable for toilets and laundry, and then also potable as an alternative to a well. Pressurized distribution systems. So after you've collected the water in a tank, a barrel, then you want to pump it. There's really three main types of pumps. And in those three main types, there's three, parent categories. The parent categories are inline pumps that are positioned outside a tank. And then there's submersible pumps, which are positioned inside a tank, usually on the bottom of the tank floor. Now, in those two types of categories, there's a manual pump, which will turn on and off when the power is applied. You can turn it into an automatic pump by adding a pressure tank and a pressure switch. Which is a typical well jet pump system, very loud and kind of old school. Then you got an on-demand pump, which will turn on and off when water is needed. It's got a built-in pressure tank, pressure switch. It's a very great option, especially entry level, to get a very on-demand sort of water system without getting into much plumbing or much electrical work at all. And then the final level of these types of pumps would be a VFD powered pump, which are the most energy efficient type of pumps. So they do turn on and off automatically, but they adjust the pressure of the pump by changing the frequency of the electricity in the motor. So they are your most kind of advanced option for pumps. Now here would be another idea of a rainwater system. So you got Icb Totes, which is a great option for collecting rain. It's cost effective, a lot of volume, readily available. Here would be putting a tank and a pump in the bottom of this sort of tote and having an external type pump. And then you could put a submersible pump here and collect out of this tank. So it gives you an idea of, again, more really good ways to harvest rain. So should I treat rainwater? So yes, rainwater is relatively pure and clean, but the roof can introduce some contamination. So depending on what you're going to use it for, there's different types of filtration. So if you're going to irrigate with it, you're probably going to want a basic sediment filter to protect your irrigation equipment and possibly protect your pump. Maybe a carbon filter. Then if you're getting into toilets and laundry, typically for code, you're going to need particle and UV disinfection. Then
Ben, we'll just can you try to wrap it up as quickly as possible now? Yeah, sure. I'm getting to the end. So really, to be honest, that's kind of getting into the more advanced system. So that's my last slide right there. Great. Well, thanks, Ben. We really appreciated that. You can stop sharing the screen there. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker as she's getting set up to share the screen. Beatriz Gomez Canizo is the Water Conservation Programs Coordinator for the City of Guelph. And Beatriz manages the rebates program specifically for rainwater harvesting. And this is quite an exciting program because, as you may have seen in some of the promotion, there are rebates of up to $2,000 that are available for you in order to put into some of these more comprehensive systems that are out there. Beatriz, I'll hand it over to you. You might have to unmute yourself there.
Can you see my screen there?
We can, but it's not in screen view. It's in yeah.
Okay.
Click on
There.
that. There you go, and we can
Okay.
hear you too. Take
Um,
it.
okay. Hi, everyone. Good night, and thank you, Evan, for the introduction. I am really excited to be here, and as the slide says, my name is Beatriz Gomez-Canizo, and I'm the Water Program Conservation Programs Coordinator with the City of Guelph. And this is close to my heart, so rainwater harvesting has always been a passion of mine, so I'm really happy to be able to be managing these programs right now, and especially in a city like Guelph. So most of you actually come from Guelph, and Guelph is a city that is famous because it cares about the water, it cares about the environment, is considered an environmental leader, and it has had water conservation programs since 1998, right? And one of the reasons why we try to encourage rainwater right now is because of the unique situation of the City of Guelph. So as most of you, I hope, know, the City of Guelph is a larger city in Canada that actually relies mostly on groundwater in order to supply the community. So, and even though it is high quality and we are lucky enough to have a large supply that can actually cover the demand right now, at the same time, because of the time that it takes to recharge the aquifer, it is susceptible to drought and overuse. So that's why we have to be careful, and we need to understand what are we doing to take care of that water, and how can we encourage more water conservation and lower the consumption. So in order to do that, there's a water supply master plan that helps us to understand how to reduce that amount of water, because even after like a lot of like research and going through how we can meet our targets, we realize that water conservation and efficiency, it's still the priority to reduce the demand that we are going to have while the city continues to grow. So our programs have to focus on that. Then after doing some community consultations and getting the feedback from the community, we realized that our priorities were very similar to what the community wanted to see. And that's what we come up with a water efficient strategy, which is to reduce water use and help develop or implement new water saving technologies that, even though the city keeps growing, our water demand does not. Now, what can we do as users in Guelph? Our actions can actually impact highly the water demand and our resources, because 51% of the water use in Guelph is actually residential. So even though, yes, like industries and larger users have an impact as well, most of it actually comes from homes. So, and as we know, conservation is very cost efficient. So if we conserve the water, we can actually save more water that or save resources that would have to be used to create infrastructure to cover the demand that we will have if we do not do these conservation or water efficiency programs. Now, here's the average water use per person. So according to Environmental Canada, Canadians use twice as much water per person as compared to other industrialized countries. So usually the only one that uses more water than us per person is actually the United States. And in Guelph, we are below not only the Canadian average, but the Ontario average. So right now, well, 2019, which is the last data that we have, we were at 164 liters per person. But our goal, in order to keep, as I said, like that, expenditure on infrastructure away, so we don't have to do that, our targets are 150 liters per person by 2038. Now, looking at ways in which we can save water, and this is where our rainwater becomes really important. As you can see on that slide, most of the water used at home comes from toilets, showers, and laundry. And the rainwater in Guelph can actually be used for toilets, urinals, laundry, and irrigation systems. But only using it in those two, we can act like laundry and toilets, we can actually save about 50% of the water use of a home. So we do have the power with our choices to reduce the amount of water that we're using in our homes and reduce our water bills, our energy bills, and at the same time be contributing to keep our water supply safe. The other reason why we do want to, and I Ben touched these on this topic a little bit, is why we want to encourage rainwater harvesting is because of the water cycle and how we have impacted the water cycle. So before, most of the water was infiltrated, some of it was left through evapotranspiration. But as we started building our cities and increasing the amount of impermeable surfaces, that has changed. So the water cycle has changed. Now we have way more runoff. There's way more storm water. So the idea here is try to reduce that, because with that runoff, we are taking a lot of pollutants into our rivers and lakes. In Guelph, the stormwater does not get treated before it reaches our waterways. So it is important to keep as much in place where it falls, or like capture it in one way or another. So that's the other part of our programs, like source protection as well. I think Ben touched on this a bit, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. So based on all that I said before, we developed, or we have some programs that can actually help homeowners and property owners to help us reach these goals at the same time as reducing their bills. One of them, and the easiest one, is through our Rain Barrel annual sale. And that one is happening right now. So you can actually purchase one subsidized rain barrel per household. The website is over there. We usually sell about 900 rain barrels per year. You can get more than one, but you have to pay full price. And this year, due to COVID, you actually get the rain barrel delivered straight to your home, which I think it's an advantage. Then we have, like, I'm going from the simplest systems to the more complicated systems. So then we have the seasonal rainwater harvesting rebate. In this case, you can get up to $2,000 depending on the amount of liters or the capacity of your tank or the tank that you are using. In the case of this water, usually it's used for outdoor. It's only used during the summer months. It does not have the capacity to stay active during the whole year because of like our freezing temperatures. And the tank has to be at least 500 liters in order to be approved for the system. Again, if you have any questions, I am putting on each of the slides, you can find the website where you can find more information, or the email of the person that is in charge of that specific rebate. Then we have the more complex all-season rainwater harvesting systems. For those ones, you can get, again, the $2,000 rebate. These ones are systems that can work all year round. This water is actually treated after, like before and after the storage tank, so it can be used in the washrooms, the urinals, and it will be used as well for irrigation if wanted or if needed. Then we have other programs that, again, have to do with, it's a combination of our outdoor use programs and the rain harvesting. We have a rain garden rebate. In this case, again, you can get up to $2,000. This one will depend on the amount of liters that are captured by your system and the cost that you incur to actually build the rain garden. And you can get a free rain garden visit to get advice on the design, the materials, the size, and to make sure that you are doing it properly. Again, the contact information is over there. And just to give you an idea, because I think rain gardens are misunderstood and a lot of people cannot picture what they look like. This is a picture of the before and after. So you can see the after below. That is a rain garden. So it has nothing to do with a pond. Actually, the water cannot stagger in there. So it cannot be in place for more than 24, maximum 48 hours. It has to be absorbed through the ground. So, as I said, we have a lot of programs that will actually help you. We have a lot of rebates that can help incentivize this water conservation. And all these programs are summarized in our Blue Build Home program. So if you want to learn about all the different rebates, if you go into like our Blue Build Home, you can see all of them together. So in this case, you can get a certification for your home, and you have to choose between different water saving options. So your home will be certified as a water efficient property, and you can pick from rainwater harvesting, greywater reuse systems, even like WaterSense appliances like efficient faucets, water meters. So there's many different ways in which you can get your home certified and make sure that you are reducing the amount of water that you use. If you can actually reduce more than 50% of the water use of your home if you decide to sign for a lot of these Blue Build Home different saving options. If you apply for the Blue Build Home, you have the opportunity or the chance to receive up to $2,465 in rebates. And if you're a little bit lost and you don't know where to start or how to move a step forward, we have a partnership with Emerge where we do, or they do, home tune-ups. So they do home visits that to help you understand your water and your electricity bills, help you save energy, save water, save money, and they are very familiar with all our rebates, so they can actually help to provide that information as well. So I will totally encourage you to register for that. And that's it. That's my contact information. And I think with that, I am going to stop sharing.
Great. Well, thank you, Beatriz. That was very informative, to packing all that information in a very short period of time. Can I add a couple of historical notes to that? You went back as far as 1998. The city actually had a program in 1993. I noticed that you had the water consumption levels, the historic consumption levels, but back in 1993, there was a community-based program that the City of Guelph was funding. And at the time, water consumption levels on a per person per day basis was at 254 liters per person per day. It was somewhat similar to the home visit program, but those were in the days of 13-liter toilets. Can you imagine? Today, now the standard is 4.8. On that note, folks, I want to introduce our next speaker, who I think Larry has some toys to show us. Larry, I'm going to ask you to, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and also click your camera on. Larry is with Rain Barrels, rainbarrels.ca. Larry, can you hear us there? I'm going to have to ask you to unmute there, Larry. Leah, are you able to help out with that one? Okay,
I'm not there with Larry right now, but he may be on a phone. Is there is unmute *6 or #6?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I'm tempted to send him a text as well. You know what we're going to do? Evan, can I ask you to jump in here? You'll have to unmute. Yeah. Sorry to put you on the spot, Evan. But Evan Bell is with Water Farmers Urban Agriculture. So Evan, I'll pass it off to you, and if you would go ahead and take the screen, share the screen from your perspective. And Leah, why don't you text me so that we can resolve the issue with Larry?
Sure. Can you see my screen okay? And you can hear me okay? Okay, sounds good. Thanks. My name is Evan Bell. I'm the co-founder and general manager of Water Farmers Urban Agriculture. Let's get this guy. There we go. So basically, I'm a design build contractor that works in the Guelph area, and we build better places to grow. We're founded in 2017, and our vision is to provide the technical expertise for the next generation of ecological farms and properties. So we do primarily work in urban agriculture and the controlled environment space. But we've been starting to dabble into rainwater harvesting recently and have got some pictures here from some interesting builds to show you guys. So sort of the approach that we go through as a design build contractor is design, build, grow. So basically for residential and property management systems, there's another phase after something's been installed where we're we're actually using that, we're growing with it, right? So in the case of rainwater, that'd be how we're actually using, you know, that stuff on the land to water or irrigate or use for any of the more complex uses inside. So here's a photo of me on a big rainwater install we did a few years ago. So this was 4 below grade tanks. I see Ben nodding there. This was a fun big one where the client had dug for a well a couple times and came up dry both times. And they basically threw in the towel and said, we're going to get a really big cistern and haul water in half and use half of it for rainwater. So this is the example of like a really big system. You know, when you got a big property, you have full catchment of the house, you know, you have full drainage, like really the Cadillac of these kinds of systems. The next shot here, this is of a seasonal system, but quite a large seasonal system. So you can see the bypass for the filter, like above the tank, and then some of the drainage lines that come through, just to see like all the installation points to hit kind of the checklist for an install. Here's a couple interesting photos. It's good that Ben showed us some of the context there for some of the larger filtration systems. So on the left here is an example of a pre-filter. So this was done on a 3,000 square foot house that actually had a green roof. So we were collecting off a green roof, and this filled up like an absolutely massive cistern, like a concrete system. So this was actually kind of a retrofit where we were taking an old system that never functioned correctly, and then, you know, using some new technology, some new pumps, some new filters, and getting it up to a really great standard. And this one runs year round with no problems. They've been using it for 2 years, and they have tons of water like all year, which is great. And they mostly use it for farm use. So just as an installer working in this field, we only do about 10% of our business in rainwater, but I just thought I'd have some considerations for the wider audience. Happy to take questions on later on, but I think some of the main challenges is the scale of catchment and sizing an appropriate system. So this is assuming we have to get larger. Evan, if you want me to cut it off soon, let me know.
Yes, please, that'd be great.
Yeah, so just leave this here for a second. I know everyone's getting the presentation. So the main thing we've now developed is this concept of Rainwater 1, which is basically an entry-level homeowner appliance that's not like a large-scale below-grade system, but is also approved for the city's rebates. So it's sort of the one step up from a rain barrel system. Thanks. So to contact me, my contact information is right here. And the example of this system, we've actually just deployed at the Arboretum in Guelph. Is sort of the first pilot for this this component. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Evan. I don't have the opportunity to use my name when I'm talking to someone else very frequently. I really appreciate that. And just you've got your contact information there, but just so that everyone knows that we also have links to the websites of all of our presenters this evening as well. And before any of you ask, we are recording this so that it will be available, and we will be sending out an email to everyone that was on this call next week with a link to that email. Sorry, to the video, as well as we will have compiled all of the presentations into a PDF, into one PDF, to make it easy for you to flip through them as well. And on that note, I see Larry Pomerantz. Larry, how are you?
I'm technologically challenged.
Aren't we all in these COVID times? Well, I'm so glad you could make it, and I'm a little jealous that you're outside right now. But I won't. And there's Leah as well. There's his sister Leah as well. Thanks both of you for joining us. Larry, I'm going to hand it over to you. Larry's with rainbarrels.ca, and I'll hand it over to you.
Sure. So I was going to show you some of the toys I have here today. Hopefully you can see that there. That is a repurposed rain barrel. That came into the country with olives, pickles, cherries, things like that in it. And we convert those into rain barrels by drilling a hole on the top and adding a leaf and mosquito filter basket, by adding a spigot down at the bottom that you can connect the garden hose to, and by adding an overflow outlet. However, that should have an overflow hose on, but I forgot to bring one home. The City of Guelph is selling this barrel right here. This is a Sandstone Barrel, and they are the only city that I know of that has a wide ranging subsidy program That barrel typically sells for about $85, and you can pick that up at the City of Guelph through our website for $30. In behind it, I have a downspout diverter, and I'd like to talk to you about that a little bit later, but I know I only have 2 minutes here, but just showing you how that downspout diverter connects up to the rain barrel. Are these images coming through? I'll take that as a yes. Very good.
Yes, they are.
But most importantly, let's follow this downspout down, and let's see what's happening here. Our downspouts are running into a pipe that runs along the house here. And it runs to the front of the house here, where we have a clean out right there. And then that clean out runs this way from the house to a cistern here that captures rainwater. That cistern over there is our trucked in water. This cistern here is our rainwater. And here's where we MacGyvered a filter. I have not cleaned this filter yet this year, so no idea what's going to come out of this. Maybe not even the filter. That does not want to come out. Come on, filter. Anyways, it hasn't been cleaned yet. And when this cistern fills up, the pipe then runs through the ground and over here, because whether you have a rain barrel or even a much larger system, you still have to deal with.
I think we might have lost you, Larry. Can you hear us? Ben Morrison, are you going to be ready shortly? We may have to switch to you quickly here. Oh, there you are. You're back. Are you, Larry?
I am here, yeah. Yeah,
go ahead. You froze there for a little bit.
So I don't know how far we got, but I was basically showing you that we're walking the talk. We have rainwater collection into a 2,000-gallon cistern here, and we flush our toilets, and we use all of our outdoor water as rainwater through the taps. And that is it.
Well, that's great, Larry. This is one of the times when not having slides, I thought added a great opportunity for us to see some hands-on stuff. And of course, all the presenters are holding on so that we can get into this this Q&A and a panel discussions shortly. On that note, thanks, Larry. Ben, Larry, I'm gonna ask you to mute Ben, I'm going to ask you to share a screen at this point for your 2 minutes. You saw Ben earlier, and he was wearing the hat of the not-for-profit organization that he was involved with, but he's also involved with a company that produces and delivers these things as well. Over to you.
Yeah, so thanks. I work with Cleanflow Water Technologies. We are a national corporation that manufactures rainwater harvesting gray water systems. We have turnkey solutions for rainwater, gray water, stormwater, water treatment. We do design, build, supply, installation, and maintenance. And we are UL certified panel shop for larger commercial systems. Typically what we look at is two systems working together to get your rainwater system functioning in the house. A rain seeker system, which collects water, and a Vita reuse system, which will pump, treat, and sanitize the water to meet code. This would be one of our spec sheets for a below ground type system. You've got the water coming off the roof, going to a pre-filter, then into a tank, and then back into the house into a Vita rain system for reuse in the house. This would be an above ground similar option. Again, showing the pre-filtration, the tank, and then the Vita reuse system in the house. So two simple components make up a whole rain harvesting system. These are the different tank types we manufacture and provide. This would be a Vita rain use system. So it's like a dishwasher, but this does everything for rain. It pumps, it treats, it controls, it sanitizes, it UVs, it does it all for non-potable and for potable. So typically you'd have something that may look like this. This is kind of what it converts into, all in a nice package. There, it's all ready to ship. And then here's larger commercial systems that we're a part of for large scale. Here's excuse me, for the RCMP in Ottawa, commercial skid that we built, larger scale underground work, above ground for a farm, for hazelnut production, so large scale irrigation system. And then IKEA is another large one we've done. So yeah, that's a real quick 2-minute splash of what we do. I didn't want to take up too much time. I could talk all day, but I'll leave it at that.
Great, thanks, Ben. I really appreciate it. I know that all our presenters have a wealth of knowledge and expertise in that area. And on that note, I want to introduce Tim Neeb, rather, from Neeb Engineering. And Tim, are you ready there? And anytime you are, please share the screen for your slides, and also please remember to unmute.
Thanks, Evan. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Neeb, principal of Neeb Engineering and Stormwell Technologies, a Guelph-based business. Neeb Engineering has been providing mechanical engineering services in the building construction industry for 15 years, having developed a specialization in rainwater harvesting. Stormwell was formed with the intent of utilizing our engineering experience to develop advanced and cost-effective rainwater harvesting systems and to provide public education around rainwater harvesting. All-season rainwater harvesting may be used for a number of applications. This slide I brought up describes a variety of projects that we've worked on, and they include office buildings. A number of viewers will recognize the 10C building in Guelph, vineyards, municipal garages, fire stations, libraries, and residential applications. Keeping the audience in mind, I thought I'd focus on a few local residential projects that some would recognize. This screen shows Guelph Campus Co-op at 7 College Ave, across the street from the University of Guelph Vet College. For 14 years, it has been utilizing rainwater and snowmelt for toilet and urinal flushing and laundry use. And our calculations determine that 6,000 liters of water storage would be optimum for this facility. And we have it in the form of these 4 tanks located in the basement. Another residence in Guelph at 64 Albert Street, located near Royal City Park, is an example of indoor water storage. This is a 3,400 liter tank located in a crawl space in the house. And it provides rainwater and snowmelt that's been treated for toilet flushing, laundry, and exterior hose bib use. And another example of a residential application with underground outdoor water storage with a tank in the bottom right-hand picture there. And this facility uses the rainwater for toilet flushing, exterior hose bibs, and irrigation. And as Ben had touched on earlier to some extent, rainwater for residential application may reduce the municipal water bill by upwards of 50%. And rainwater is naturally soft, so it may mean reduced cycling of water softeners and less detergent use. Pressurized rainwater is ideal for outdoor hose use, water and car washing. It's a little bit more convenient than using buckets. All-season rainwater harvesting may result in higher home resale value and provide water security. And that's my brief presentation.
Great, thanks, Tim. And I had mentioned to Tim earlier before our visitors joined us this evening that our office happens to be in 10C, 10 Garden, and I had to run into the office today for a brief moment into the basement, and I could hear the whir of a pump going in the room that was going on. And he suggested someone had probably flushed the toilet, and that's why it was pumping water at that time. But it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that system. He said he's going to let us see it in the months to come. Really looking forward to that. So we're going to open this up for questions now, and I would ask that all of our panelists just unmute for the time being. I'm going to ask a generic question to all of them. So I would share, I'd encourage everyone that's out there to post questions in the chat. But my generic question out there to you is that, what do you see as the main motivation why someone goes down the path of rainwater harvesting? What do you think, Evan? You want to chat? Do you want to start that one off?
I think it's just wanting to get more out of what's there and what's available just from nature. So it's like, you know, there's zero cost to it, right? It's just like it makes an investment, and as soon as you get it, as soon as it rains the next time, it's paying off, right? So I feel like that's pretty intrinsic to it, you know, just feeling like you can get something just out of nature off your house or whatever. Right?
So definitely an environmental motivation. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, so what we see is we definitely see when you have water in the city, I see the main motivator being like what Evan said, you know, recreation use, reducing your water bill, just empowering environmental motivations. Then as soon as you kind of get outside of the city, you start to see it becomes an access issue where people can't even get a building permit without putting in a large scale rain system, or they don't have a well. So I think it's also the type of client. So.
And Larry, how about you?
Well, for us, it's a lot of gardeners. People are looking to improve the look of their homes, or they want to grow some great food. And they understand that rainwater doesn't have the chlorine or fluoride that we often find in processed tap water. So it's actually better for your lawns and gardens and trees.
And Tim, how about Tim?
Numerous reasons. I'm thinking for in Guelph, there's a water use consciousness for residents and people that want to incorporate sustainability into their homes. As I touched on briefly in the presentation about water security.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. And Beatrice, I'm very curious to hear your sense on that.
I think I totally agree. Like, I think when you're talking about a city, especially a city in a place like Canada, where you see water all around you, I think it's more because of the environmental awareness that people have here, especially when you live in a big city. But again, like if you go to other places, it's more the need that that is driving that. Yeah.
Gotcha. We do have a question here. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised this one came up right away. And this is the question is, what's the cost to install the system, and the difference between an above ground and a below ground system? And I know that the question is, it depends. So I'm going to go backwards to our suppliers again. Go to Tim first. We're talking residential systems here, because obviously commercial scale systems would be significantly more expensive. Can you give us a sense of what people are talking about in a range? Put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yeah, no. All season rainwater harvesting systems for residential application can be pricey, and the payback long. And that was one of the motivators for us incorporating Stormwell, was to develop a cost-effective technology to put it in the hands of the average homeowner. That technology is going to come to market this winter, so I can't speak to what that cost would be, other than say it would be a fraction of what our experience is with custom rainwater harvesting systems for residential, which may cost upwards of $20,000 or $25,000. I find that one of the more expensive considerations for residential rainwater harvesting is how to deal with the overflow. And that means sometimes French drains, or the cities really don't want you connecting to their storm sewers. So.
Right, but I would imagine that linking that with a good stormwater management system, so that overflows were part of a rainwater garden or something like that, would probably be a good way to go, I suspect.
Well, the difficulty is that a tank that's underground or a tank that's in a basement, the top of the tank is below the grade. So when the tank is full, you have to have a way of getting that water up to that elevation, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. Right. Evan Bell, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think It depends question. The absolute cheapest you could do if you were a competent DIY person, renting machines and stuff, you could do it for like under 10 grand. But the issue is because it's toilet, you would still need UV treatment because it would be at a like probable contact, right? So you still need your pumping solution, you still need your filtration, all that stuff. So yeah, to Tim's point, like for a retrofit of an existing house, especially if the drainage doesn't connect, like you can't get enough volume because your downspouts are like at different points of your house. A lot of the install cost is just trenching in, and getting that pipe to wherever your tank is, your cistern, right? And then, further groundwater considerations with overflow, right? Beatrice put her hand up.
Yeah, I was just want to say, like, I hate to be on the city, giving the city perspective, but if you're going to actually connect anything to the pipe of your home, it actually you need a building permit, and you're going to need a certified plumber to do it. So you cannot do it yourself.
But sorry, for which component of that though? Like if you're not touching what comes into the house, so the connection from the cistern to the potable side of the house, right? Like
yeah, like if they are going to use it for the toilets, you're going to have to plug it to the system in the house, and you're going to need like water just in case if there's not enough water in your system or your tank, then you're going to have to need water from like tap water to like fill that in, right? So because of those connections, you actually need a plumber to do that, and you need a building permit.
For sure, you need the building permit. Yeah.
Ben, how about you?
So yeah, it's a good question. So to do a toilet flushing system, we have a very interesting product that allows us to kind of tackle the overflow issue that what is brought up there. So essentially, you'll be looking at in around the range for the system price. You'd be looking in around the range of $5,000 for a toilet flushing system for above ground, and then below ground you'd be looking around the $7,000 mark. Now, installation would vary depending on your home and what's required. But you'd be looking at anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000. So to put that all together and stack it all up for an above ground system, you'd be looking at about $8,000 installed to flush your toilets. Upwards for a below ground system that could get up to about $11,000 to $15,000.
Great. And Larry, yes, Larry, go ahead.
Rain barrels to flush toilets?
I guess that's a bit much, isn't it? But your system that you showed us was a lot more significant than that. It was a lot more than just a rain barrel, what you showed us.
That's it. And rain barrels are seasonal, right? So they have to get put away for the winter. So not really a good solution for that.
Yeah, but they do a great job on the seasonal stuff. There was a question that we had here specifically about tiny houses, and the person concerned that there wasn't enough roof space on a tiny house in order to get a viable amount of water. And I won't go down that path too much, but there was another question here. I'm trying to find them all here. Should the cistern run dry? Is there a backflow preventer or an air gap required to switch over to municipal water supply for toilet flushing?
Yes.
Who wants to take that one first?
Yeah, so I can handle that one. Definitely, without a doubt, if you're going to be interconnecting two systems, part of the building code is you need to have a cross connect. So in a residential setting, that would be with an air gap. So you have a gap of air between your treated water, your city water, and your rainwater system. And then in a commercial application, you'd use a reduced pressure zone device or a backflow preventer, but not typically residentially.
Gotcha. Anyone else want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, Evan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think today's homeowner would would want unexpected, or would rather have an undisturbed water provided in the event of a power failure, for example. So a direct connection would probably be the most, I'm finding to be the most popular way to go versus a 2-inch air gap.
Gotcha.
And then I just want to follow up with the costing for residential systems is that I can't imagine how it could cost any less than $7,000 or $8,000 to get a backhoe in to excavate and put a tank in and backfill and then deal with the overflow concerns. And also, we're also considering toilet and wash machine use. You're trying to get the most bang from your buck in your investment. So I'm thinking everything included, and what Beatrice was mentioning about permits and such, it does get, unfortunately, a little bit more expensive for residential application for all season.
Right. Right. We have an interesting comment, not a question here from Mike Garman. I have a gray water system and outside seasonal rainwater system, and they use approximately 50 liters per person per day. So the potential is quite huge, and that's a far cry from the 150 liters, the goal that the city is trying to get at, and the current average of 164. Let's see, another question from, who do I see here? What are the effects of air pollution on rainwater collection? Can I assume the pollution can be filtered out? Do you know if unfiltered rainwater has any adverse effects on crops? Who wants to take that one first? Evan, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I worked in a fairly large 10,000 liter collection system for a greenhouse in Toronto that was right off the 427 highway. And we had pre-filters on it, so a first flush diverter, but it did have a phenomenal amount of like a very, very fine particulate dust coming through the filters. That said, the plants showed no adverse effects at all. In the productive greenhouse, the project worked fine. But I think that, yeah, like the pre-filtration methods really do a lot to get a lot of the air pollution out, provided it's clean, it goes into the tank. So then whatever UV and carbon in sediment inside your house has the best water to go from.
Gotcha. Anyone else want to wade into that one?
I'm done.
That was I'd like to say that was a good explanation for it. The contaminants on a roof sometimes come into effect with drinking water if you know, you're close to pulp production or mining production. Sometimes that can be a concern if you have a close proximity, but overall, any of that stuff can be filtered out in most cases.
Gotcha. I've got another question here. Will rainwater in a tank go bad if not used for a month or more and just sitting in the tank because homeowners are on vacation or away from the home?
So when you talk about putting rainwater in a tank, if you put the rainwater in the tank and you're not proper pre-filtering it into the tank, then it could go bad. You're going to actually have a lot of biological oxygen demand. Things are going to break down in the tank. So if you have a proper pre-filter and proper turnover in the tank with components, without getting too much into getting into that, then the water in the tank will last and it won't go stagnant on you.
Gotcha. Gotcha. There are a couple of more comments about gray water systems. I don't know that we want to go too far down that path, just because that's not where we're speaking specifically about rainwater collection as opposed to gray water, because there's a whole other level of complexity. But I will also add, it is, correct me if I'm wrong, that there are also rebates for gray water systems as well, but it's not something that we're dealing with on this call specifically.
No, there are, and but they're a little bit lower. It's $1,000 per system. Yeah.
Got it.
We do have one.
And a question from David McCauley, or a statement, there's been some resistance to rainwater harvesting because of the reduction in source aquifer for municipal wells. I'm a little confused by that question, David. If you could clarify it in that message, I'd appreciate that. Unless someone else, there might be something missing.
Is that on a whole? Is he meaning like on a whole watershed thing? Like, I feel like you'd have to do a phenomenal amount of capture before you're actually impacting like source water in that
loss
sense.
Of recharging.
Like, I think you need a phenomenal amount of capture. That would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tim, can you speak to that?
Sorry,
I think especially.
Go ahead, Beatrice.
Okay, I think especially because with the amount of impermeable surface that we have right now, and as the cities are designed to basically take the water away as fast as possible as they can from the cities to prevent flooding, so it will not actually allow to capture much. So most of it actually goes straight into creeks and the river, which does not allow to a lot of infiltration anyway.
Gotcha. There is a comment here from Amy. Could you use the rain collect the rain garden process underneath a hedge that would be installed, or do you need the rocks that she saw in the picture? And Beatrice, I'm wondering if you can speak to, I understand the city's going to have a webinar specifically on the rain gardens. So can you shed any light on that? I'm not sure.
Sure. I don't remember dates, but they are happening right now during April. There's once a week, and they are specific on rain gardens and water efficient gardening. So they can check our website and they can find all the information about all the speakers and all the different topics over there. But definitely, like, I do have a rain garden. My rain garden only has rocks at the beginning and at the out. So when the inlet is and at the outlet, everything else does not have rocks. So yeah, it will depend. Like, there's many different types of designs for rain gardens.
Got it. There is another question about the tiny house, and this person is asking specifically, what are the alternatives for someone with a tiny house? I'm assuming outside of Guelph, but what other ways could that person consider collecting rainwater? Who wants to work on that one? Larry, can I put you on the spot on that one?
Sure. Yeah. So I've seen you know, lots of people who want to hook up a barrel to a school, or they just don't have eaves troughs or anything. One option would be to, you know, use a large tarp and tie it, you know, between a number of trees, because you need a large surface. And then you could have a hole in the center of that tarp, so the four corners slope down to the center, and you could fill some containers that way.
Great. Anyone else want to wade into the tiny home issue?
I think on that, part of the challenge is the catchment area. So like if the tiny home is, say, like a trailer or something, it's like 300 square feet, right? Which is going to fill maybe 2,000 liters a month. So you're really riding the line there in terms of, you know, if there's enough water there. So I mean, the other options would just be any sort of catchment surface, right? So awnings or tarps, I guess, if you're already in that sort of environment. But short of building a large roof area, it's going to be hard to capture rainwater without it touching the ground and then becoming stormwater, right? Which changes things for you.
Here's a really interesting question from David McCauley. I'd never even thought of this. It's a great question, David. But he said, like PV installations, or PV is solar photovoltaic installations, where rooftops can be leased, whether it's on a commercial or on a residential basis, it can be leased for someone else that wants to take advantage of that rooftop. So could they be leased for rainwater harvesting? And David, you know, my gut feel on it says there's an infrastructure in place for you to, you know, to lease the rooftop of a large commercial building, I suspect. I mean, you are currently able to, because I'm involved with a couple of those projects, specifically with commercial buildings, to put photovoltaics on the roof, but I don't know why that same a tool couldn't be used. I hadn't even thought of this. So if you're an adjoining property and you need a lot of water, I throw that out to you folks. Any of you come across something like that?
No.
Tim, you look like you're itching to get in on this one.
Yeah, I think the challenge would be with the water conveyance, getting it from the point where it's stored after collection to getting it to the point of use, and also that really wouldn't be for an all-season application in our climate.
Right, unless geography was really good to the application. Right, I mean, under certain circumstances, I suspect it could work if the use of the water off of the property is immediately adjacent. I mean, you'd have to have all sorts of things fitting in order to want to go down that path. But you're suggesting on flat land, you'd have problems with just getting the water to where you want it to go. Anyone else? And I noticed that Greg Smith has also put a link in the chat specifically for the online gardening seminars that the city will be is bringing about. And Arlene out in Guelph-Aramasa in the beautiful megalopolis of Eden Mills, Ontario says, does anyone know if Guelph-Aramasa Township is ready to issue permits for these residential systems? And anyone have an idea if they've run into anything like that? I'm assuming that on a farm basis that you probably, I would imagine some of you have done some of these types of systems in Guelph-Aramasa Township. Is that safe to assume?
No, not that specific township for us. We've done Guelph and surrounding areas, and permits are pretty straightforward to get because of the standardized building code. So I would assume they're good to go. You know, you get the engineer stamp and send it in, and they're usually happy.
But I would agree, as long as it meets is code compliant, anywhere in Canada, you can install a rainwater harvesting system.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And another question from David, how about water consumption at rec facilities? And maybe that's a question for Beatrice. I mean, there's a huge roof, needless to say, there. And I know that recently the Victor Davis or Victoria Rec Center went through a major renovation. And I don't know, Beatrice, do you know if they did anything with rainwater harvesting at that time?
Not that I know. I don't think they did. But to be fair, I've been with the city for 3 months, so I'm not familiar with all the projects that happened before my time, but I have not seen it. So, but I cannot really say.
Yeah, it hasn't been loud in the media. At least it isn't evident. Otherwise, I suspect one of our other panelists may have seen it historically too. And thanks, Beatrice, for posting that, the Guelph.ca, the seasonal online gardening seminars again as well. We tried to use rainwater harvesting at the new Guelph Humane Society, and we're not approved because of recharging the aquifer. That's an interesting question. This is again from David McCauley. He was asking about that earlier, and maybe is this a little more information that makes it clearer for you for any of you to respond?
I've never heard of that before. That's interesting though, because that means that they're equating the impervious surface of a roof. That's like, I don't know how big that building is, 10,000 square feet or something like that, to be so significant that it's causing an aquifer issue. I don't know, Tim, can you speak to that? I've never heard of that being a reason for denial before.
Yeah, I've never come across it.
The only thing we've seen is when you look at rain harvesting, there's passive and active. And passive rain harvesting is where you're actually putting it under the ground into an infiltration chamber. So it infiltrates into the ground and recharges the aquifer. So it could be looking for an overflow from your tank to recharge the aquifer into a passive rain system. But again, we've never actually had that be a restriction. We've had that be an option, but not a restriction. So we'd have to dive deeper into the project to know why.
Gotcha. And he follows up by saying that it was 17,000 square feet. Sorry, go ahead.
But was it because of usage? Like, was the water going to be put underground right away, and they were concerned with water quality? I'm not familiar with that project, but that's the only reason that I can think of.
He says yes, the Hamlin Creek.
Like if it has to do with like the specific location where it is and how close it can be to either a well or a very porous surface where it could actually impact the quality, the water quality. That's the only thing that comes to my mind. I can check that, and then if you can send me an email, I'm going to put my email there again, and then with the specific project, I can do some research.
Great, David, you heard that.
And figure out what happened.
Space is going to put her email in there. You can follow up directly with her.
Yeah, so please send me an email with the details, and then I will follow up.
Great. David McCall. So consumption of potable water is huge for the cleaning of animal kennels, which I thought was, wow, I hadn't even thought of that. So they're a very large water user is what David is saying. And you would think that that would have been a very logical use for a rainwater harvesting system. I know that the building is operational now. And for those of you that don't know, David is a local architect and has been involved with a lot of low energy and low water consumption buildings. So this one is an interesting one, and I hope that David and Beatrice can connect on that. It sounds like a very interesting project and potentially an opportunity as well. Oh, and the rain garden workshop was in March. Any chance that we could access the recording, Beatrice?
No, because they are paid per presentation, so we cannot share the recordings.
Okay.
But they can actually go into our website. There's a lot of information about rain gardens over there, and they can book one of our rain garden visits.
Great, great.
Someone else, sorry, Evan, on that remote.
Yeah,
sorry, someone else my company was at that rain garden workshop, and we've installed a few last year in Guelph. So if there's questions about it, you can message me or email me.
Great, great. So you're doing rain garden work as well?
Yep. I mean, they integrate with a seasonal rainwater system. To Tim's point, they're quite difficult unless you have like a pump chamber for like a below grade all season system. But they do work with a seasonal outdoor
above grade.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. So on that note, what I'm going to just give one more pass to all of our presenters to just for some last words. Larry, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I guess, collecting water, lots of people are interested in it, but one of the main things that people need to think about is, what do you do when your collection system is full? A lot of people think a rain barrel, for example, is going to prevent flooding and things like that. Ultimately, you have to have a solution, a sound solution for where all the excess water is going to go. Other than that, it's just the size of the tank that you're going to use to collect it. And it's a very important thing to think about, because once that's full and it keeps raining, it's going to keep coming and coming and coming. So important decision for people when they're looking at any of these type of systems.
I'm really happy you said that, Larry, because I know that we've been to lots of homes as part of our home tune-up program, and we've noticed that people didn't plan where they put their rain barrels properly, and we're wondering why their basements were wet. So any type of a rainwater harvesting system needs to have that as an integral part of the planning process, is what you're saying, Ben.
It is.
Yeah, great. Ben, how about you?
Just like to say that as far as rain harvesting goes, there's kind of a solution for everyone, from a very simple purchase your system and do it yourself, to more involved, full engineered solutions. There's lots of price points because we have packaged systems. So definitely give us a call. And I know hearing the other presenters here, I think everyone here has got a really good understanding and good product lines. So I'm pretty sure give everyone a call, right, and see what we all have to offer. So. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great. Evan, how about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like I said, yeah, the new product we're designing is the Rainwater 1, which is sort of the bare minimum 1 cubic meter system for a residential system to get into the city's rebate permit, or like the rebate program. So yeah, if you want to check the prototype unit out, it's at the Arboretum in Guelph at the Nature Center. And yeah, happy to chat about rainwater stuff. And again, yeah, like Larry was saying about the design, just really important to be thoughtful about your placement, your overflows, how you're actually using that stuff, and really making it work for your property.
And Tim, how about you?
Well, I have to say it's been thoroughly enjoyable to share an hour and a half with such talented people and passionate about rainwater harvesting. There's a great opportunity, and I think that we're going to see a lot of uptake in rainwater harvesting as rebate programs expand and the need for access to water grows. As I mentioned earlier, we do have an advanced technology coming to market for residential application that's going to help greatly reduce the costs. So that's going to be coming out in winter. So that's my plug.
You're looking forward.
Yeah. I wish to follow up with each and every one of you after this presentation, actually. So.
Okay, and let me see who's and Beatrice, your final words.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to talk with your network. Just like Tim said, it's really exciting to be around so many people that are in the same with the same ideas and in the same market. So it's amazing. A few years ago, we would not be having this conversation, and I was even more like happy and excited about the amount of systems that were already within the people that were actually attending the workshop. So that was really exciting to see as well. So just a reminder that even if things that I could not answer today, I promise if you send me an email, I will do my best to figure out who's the best person in the city to answer those, and I will reply.
Great, great. Well, thank you very much. Before you go and before Rasha has our last words on this, I am just going to, if I can find it, just have another quick poll, very quick. If you wouldn't mind, just really quickly, just taking a look at the poll. And essentially 2 questions. Has your mind changed as a result of this webinar? Yes or no? And number 2, if yes, I am much more interested in rain barrels, large collection systems for seasonal, large collection systems like cisterns, etc. So we'll just see how many people quickly respond to that. And when we get a decent number that's statistically, that shows us some degree of statistical representation, I will end the poll and show it, and then Rasha will end us off here. So just about another 15 seconds. Anyone want, let's see, 15 more seconds for people to jump in on that poll. And I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So there we go. Yes, a lot of people had their minds changed as a result. Wow, you did an excellent job. If you're looking for a grade, it sounds like you got a great one. And it looks like very interesting here that people are definitely considering the larger systems, but you know, they came into this with rain barrels, Larry, and they're still there, but they're also, you've helped them graduate to some of the larger systems as well. And rebates, what a surprise. Money was definitely an interest of all of them. Rasha, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Yes, thank you, Evan. So with this, we reached to the end of our event. Thank you very much to all of our attendees for making it till the end. And before we leave, I need to just thank you, to say thanks to all our speakers and presenters. I would say thanks to Evan, to Tim, to Larry and Patrice, and I hope I didn't forget Ben here, right? And thanks for all the inspiration and our appreciation to Patrice from the City of Guelph for sponsoring this event tonight and enlightening us about the available rebates from the city and the programs available for water heroes and the Blue Belt Home. Good night, everyone, and see you in our upcoming event. Thank you, and have a good night.